Hello everyone, welcome to this special Fireside chat. I am Ryan De Boer, CFO at Loyalty and Reward Co. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Tim Mason, CEO of Eagle Eye, where today we're going to be speaking about Tim's latest book, Omnichannel Retail, How to Build Winning Stores in a Digital World. So to kick things off, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience in marketing?
I started out as a Unilever management trainee doing product management. Unfortunately, the categories that I looked after for Unilever, a company called Tesco went private labeling, and my market share went down by about a third in one reporting period. So I decided this wasn't much fun. So I decided to try and join Tesco and managed to become the second product manager at a business called Tesco, where I was working for the marketing manager, who was a guy called Terry Leahy. And over the next 30 years, we basically went through the organization like that, doing marketing, buying, operations. He became marketing director. He then became CEO, and I sort of followed him through and became CMO, and then went on and was CEO of Tesco's US startup, which was a business called Fresh and Easy. And I finished my career with Tesco after 30 years, of which nearly 20 of them were on the board, about 18 or something, I think, were on the board. So in a period of time when Tesco did a pretty good job, really.
Fantastic. It's been 4.5 years since you launched the first edition of the book. Why now have you chosen to write the second edition?
I'm not an author. I never intended to be an author. But the job that I do now with Eagle Eye does benefit from the telling of the story, sharing my beliefs about why personalized marketing is the best way of doing marketing, and the tremendous opportunity that retailers, particularly grocers, but also drugstores and other people who, have a first-hand relationship with consumers, the tremendous opportunity they have to use modern technology to do better marketing. So we decided to write the book in the first place. And then, then there was COVID, and then that accelerated digital adoption, and things moved forward, and so we were sort of thinking, should we do a second edition? Should we do it? And I wasn't wildly keen. It's quite a lot of hard work, and I've got plenty to do other than writing a book. But I was in Asia, in Singapore, and I was at a client meeting, and there was this lady at the meeting who was very quiet throughout the meeting. I thought, I'm not sure this is going very well. I'm not sure she really likes this. Oh dear, thinking away to myself. And got to the end of the meeting, and she said, by the way, just thank you very much for coming in and all that. I just wanted to say that your book is the best business present I've ever been given, and it never leaves my side. And I thought, oh, damn it, I'm going to have to do a second edition. So really, it was down to that one lady that sort of tipped me over the edge. And then Sarah and I set to work, and I must say Sarah did a great job in terms of updating the content, reordering the content, I think, a bit. So it's, I'm reading it like a reader at the moment rather than proofreading it and stuff like that, as I'm doing quite a lot of flights. I've nearly finished, and far be it from me to say, but I think it reads pretty well and hangs together pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the biggest changes you've seen impact the retail industry in that time?
Well, 5 years is quite a long time in retail anyhow, I think. And, these have been far from normal times. Clearly starting with COVID, lockdown, people being forced to use e-commerce channels, massive uptake in all sorts of digital tools, QR codes being something that everybody understands a real utility rather than just some nonsense barcode. What the hell is that all about? So a lot has changed, I think. You've then had a war, you've had big energy crisis, consumers under the cosh. There's a lot going on. I've just come in from New Zealand, and I think the consumer's really feeling it down there, and as of course when the consumer feels it, the retailers feel it. So there's a lot of factors which are not conducive to fair weather trading, I think. And that's meant that in difficult times people promote more to hang on to trade. This is sort of, they always have done. And so you're above the line, you're advertising, you probably cut, but your promotional spend, you keep going because you daren't give up on it, because you can't afford to let the fixed costs go if you can't keep the revenues up. So you've seen a lot of moves, I think, people acknowledging the move to digital with, who would have ever have thought that Lidl would have an app and a discount program and a continuity promotions, Walmart Pay, McDonald's, I think probably globally advertising their loyalty program, but certainly doing a nice job of it in the UK, where I see their ads. Pret-a-Manger launching subscriptions. Woolies in Australia relaunching everyday rewards, much heavier emphasis on personalisation, building in subscriptions. There's a lot going on, I think. And it's one of those, you've got to be in it to win it. So you're either doing it and trying to do it better, or you're going, oh, I need to be doing it and getting into it. So I think there's been a lot going on, and there's a lot to talk about and reflect upon.
Right. And what do you see as some of the real opportunities for omnichannel retailers to exploit?
The big opportunity, I think, is to appreciate that we all exist in a digital world. We're all connected all of the time, and so we have to position our stores in that context. Everything that a retailer can do on their e-commerce platform, they need to be doing in their physical platform, whether it's pricing, ranging, highlighting, whatever it is, all those things that they do, they need to be doing them in physical spaces. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get the physical space connected up and working in the digital world. Most importantly, you've got to get your audience connected. So, it's great. You've got all these identities, you know who all these people are, but most of them shop with the phone in the purse or in their pocket. And you've got to turn shopping into a phone in the hand experience, because the value that you can create if you can turn shopping into a phone in the hand experience is enormous. So I think that's a big strategic priority for retailers to do that. And of course, why am I going to have my phone in my hand when I shop? Because good things happen if I've got my phone in my hand. What are good things? Largely they're personalized things. So, that's the logic, I think. Retailers are under pressure. They feel under pressure. There was an article actually in yesterday's Financial Times, certainly in London, I don't know if it was in the international one, about retailers' media opportunities and how much money they were making about media and out of media and all that. This is all in this area, and and relative to what we're talking about here. And of course, if you think about being a grocer, the fantastic thing about grocery, and there are lots of things that are not necessarily fantastic about it, the margins, it's a tough old industry, but people shop with you frequently, they spend a lot of money, and you sell a lot of different products which help you to define what sort of person they are, what sort of shopper they are. So there's a lot in favour, And frankly, it is the best market of all for loyalty programs. You've then got a lot of suppliers in that market who are trying to sell their goods and talk to consumers and get to consumers. And you broker that, you put that together. You know, you are the aggregator, whether it's in the shop itself or through digital channels that makes that happen. And there's a very, very big opportunity, I think, for retailers if they can build this digital relationship to significantly change their relationship with consumers, which may in turn lead them to being able to sell more and different products. And, you know, if you look back at Tesco when I was there, we, in about 97, 98, we articulated our mission to be to create value for customers to earn their lifetime loyalty. Not to run the best stores, not to run the biggest stores, not to run the cheapest stores, but to create value for customers to earn their lifetime loyalty. And of course, if what you're trying to do is to create value for your customers, where you've got this rich data, this rich knowledge, this rich understanding, that gives you permission to go into e-commerce, to go into financial services, to go into telecoms. Hasn't yet resulted in going into health, but could. Hasn't yet resulted going into home services, but could. There are issues to do with home services with the gig economy and, you know, how you create products that have sufficient value for consumers. But if you look at the opportunity that retailers have to build out their portfolio of products and services that they supply to customers, it's enormous, but you have to get the data piece and the digital piece and the connection piece right in order to unlock it. So it's a very, very valuable opportunity, the most valuable opportunity for retailers.
With such a big opportunity, when you scan the market globally, who in your mind are doing omnichannel retail well?
Target in the USA have made great strides since 2016, 2017. And the interesting thing that they've done is that they have really put the store at the center of the digital experience. So they've really put an awful lot of effort into click and collect, returns to store, you know, so that you do a lot of your ordering and your shopping online, but they're cutting the store into it, wherever it makes sense, wherever they can, where it can improve the service for the customer, it can improve the economics for everybody. They've done a pretty good job, I think. I think Woolies in Australia have done a good job, Loblaw in Canada, both of whom are clients of ours, in terms of progressively more and more personalisation of promotions so that they feel more relevant, they feel more valuable, I use them more, and I shop more loyally with that retailer as a result. But I think there's an awful lot of, there's a lot to do. You can't point to anybody in the world and say, if you do what they're doing, you know. So I think there are different people doing well at different pieces, but there's an awful lot still to be done.
What role can Eagle Eye play in helping organisations to build winning stores in a digital world?
I think the important word there is help. We do help, we are an enabler, but it's down to the organisation itself. And one of the things that is a point that we make quite strongly in the book is will versus skill. And if you've got the will and the determination and the passion and the vision, you need all of those things. But if I then narrow in on your point about how do you help, I think it's worth describing what a good digital structure looks like. So first of all, you need lots of data and you need good data and you need good analytics. Second of all, once you've got that data, you're going to work out what the next best message, what the next best offer, what the next best thing is to do for each individual customer. You've got to have the transaction capability to do it. And then finally, you've got to have a nice UX, a nice environment, a nice scheme, good look, good feel, something where people feel that it's worth earning whatever the currency is that you're as part of your scheme, because they want to be able to burn that, because they see sufficient value in it. All of that's got to hang together. The bit that Eagle Eye do, principally, is the bit in the middle, the transaction piece. And the reason why that's so important is as data analytics become, I think everybody gets the idea that a business needs a brain. You know, you need to understand who your customers are and what they're doing and start to be able to predict, well, if you like this, you'll probably like that. And if you're doing this, you're probably going to shop less and we need to do these things, these programs, that, or whatever it may be. That is going to get better and better and more granular and more precise with the development of AI. And that is going to create a situation where the premium and the benefit then of being able to execute against that insight goes up all the time. And there's no point in having the AI if I know what I need to do, I just can't do it. You know, there's nothing more frustrating than that. So you need this very powerful transaction layer to enable you to do personalization. A really big grocer with 20 million customers, thousands of stores, 50,000 SKUs, if they're going to do a proper, full-blown, personalized promotion program, they will be doing something of the order of 10 billion promotions a year by the time you take all the personalization into it. And that's a lot. So you need a very powerful engine, which is what the Eagle Eye Air platform is, in order to run that. And as I said, the platform is called Air. And one of my colleagues, in fact, Sarah Jarvis, my co-author, coined the phrase, which isn't in the book, sadly, which is AI needs air, which it does. And you know, we've had some very interesting conversations with Google of late, because clearly they're very keen to develop and sell AI-based services, and what they recognize is the very important role that the transaction platform Air can have in doing that.
I'm glad you raised AI because it's quite topical at the moment, and I understand there's a lot of marketers out there trying to understand how is AI going to affect me. What are the opportunities you see for AI for marketers?
Opportunities and threats, I think. If you're already good at data analytics, it's a bit of a threat, because there's a new kid on the block. It's going to do it better, may not do it better straight away, but it's going to do it better. It's going to do it faster. It's going to do it cheaper. So there's a whole, you know, what are we going to do with what we've got now and how are we going to reposition it? And so there's quite a lot of stuff to work your way through. I think if you're not good at it or not really in the space, then there is the opportunity to jump in the fast lane and do some overtaking, because you can forget all that legacy stuff. You can forget having expensive analysts all over the place, and you can jump straight to the AI. So I think that's a big opportunity. It's interesting. It's a great book. Buy the book. My guess is it would have 10% more about AI in it just 6 months later. Right. You know, it's incredible the speed at which, in effect, ChatGPT letting the dogs out has changed the world. You know, but I think it's actually very good for omnichannel retail.
What's new in the second edition of the book?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I'm reading, rather depressingly, as I'm traveling around the world, I'm reading a book called The Ordeal of Gilbert Pinfold at the moment, which is by Evelyn Moore, and it's about a guy who's having a mental breakdown while traveling. And he's an author. And one of the things he says is, in the very beginning of the book, he says, these painters, they have it so easy. You know, they go and sit in the garden and they paint the same pond over and over and over again. Whereas an author, you've done it once and it's finished. And as I was reading this, I thought, well, unless you write a business book, and then you can sort of move on and, you know, times change. And actually, I think working with a different co-author has sort of caused a slightly different organization of the material. It's caused us, and I'll sort of flesh this out a little bit, it's caused us to bring some new bits that have sort of become more relevant and occurred to us more since we wrote the first thing. But it's also caused me to just say, I never really made that point strongly enough about something that I've known for 20 years. And there's actually so much I had to write it down, so forgive me, I'll refer to my notes. So, I mean, one of the things we talked about was the fundamentals of loyalty. And that came out of one or two client meetings where they said, you know, well, why am I doing this? So they sort of know they should be, but they don't really know. So there's some more stuff in there about the fundamentals of loyalty. There's more about the power of personalization. I have this idea, we call it marketing in the moment or marketing in the now. I think that there's a real opportunity in this digitally enabled world to contextualize marketing to literally 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, you know. And that, I think, is a really important opportunity, and I can see it being analogous to near-me searching. Mm-hmm. And near-me searching transformed Google's business, and I think marketing in the now will transform marketing. So I think that's that's something that you've got to really get after and understand how you might do it. Do you geofence your stores? What do you do? How do you do it? How do you involve AI in it? And it's back to something that I was saying earlier on about, is this thing about making shopping a phone in the hand, not phone in the purse or pocket activity. That is so you can deliver marketing in the now. So that's quite a lot on that. There is an inevitability, particularly as the thing has become more tech-based, more software as a service-based. You know, if you look at the software vendors that are involved in a marketing stack, they are many and various, and it's sort of quite mind-boggling. But you just need to remember why you're doing this and what it takes to run a really good retail business, what it takes to run a business that cares about its customers, how you do that. First of all, you have to deliver it through the people, and you have to get the people to believe it. And then if you can get the people to believe it, they'll then buy the systems that can deliver that vision and so on and so forth. But you've got to get back to the people that work for you. And we've taken the opportunity to talk a bit about Fred Reichheld, who's written a book called Winning on Purpose, which is, and he's the loyalty guy. He's the guy who invented the Net Promoter Score, and he's the guy who's really big on customer loyalty. The thing that I've realized as I've gone through my career and through my life is customer loyalty is absolutely the most important thing, but it is a byproduct, not an end in itself. The end in itself is your people that work for you, that deliver the products and services that generate that loyalty. And that's where you have to focus your attention and then trust them to deliver and create value for customers. And so we've taken the opportunity to talk about that in the book as well. So there's quite a lot of new content is the headline for what was quite a long answer, I must admit.
Well, to our audience, we hope you enjoyed this chat as much as we did. Tim, tell everyone where they can find the latest edition of the book.
Well, I know you can get it on Amazon because I had a look the other day and checked, but I noticed that the first edition is also on there, which is dark purple, so make sure you look out for the one that's in this colour. And I'm sure it's on other digital booksellers as well, but you can certainly get it on Amazon.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone.